For the first time in 21 days, an entire column of Israeli tanks has rolled into the Gaza Strip, along with armored personnel carriers. The incessant sound of tank shelling, medium machine guns, artillery pounding, and fighters dropping bombs not very far from where we are, as we continue to bring you perhaps the most decisive phase of military operations into the Gaza Strip.
From the ground, the air, and the sea, Israel is firing all cylinders and setting the stage for an all-out ground invasion of Gaza.
We've just arrived here amidst multiple plumes of smoke. You can hear F-16s in the air. There's definitely tank shelling coming from that direction. We're standing right at the tip of the northern end of the Gaza Strip. That's the fence behind me. There's a huge haze of cloud over part of it. You can hear machine gun fire. So all manner of ammunition, now being used and can not only be seen but can also be heard over here. That's medium machine gun fire.
More tanks are firing into Gaza from positions on the Israeli front line.
There's very little, independent information coming in from Gaza, which has been completely shut out with the internet and communications being completely knocked out. Okay, there's been a rocket intercept. I think there's been a rocket intercept right over here. Okay. There's been a rocket intercept. Just one second. I want to try and show you this image. Okay. Right over our heads. Right over our heads, there's been a rocket intercept, which means we need to probably take cover.
Airstrikes have also been scaled up, with penetration warheads being used to specifically target Hamas tunnels in north and central Gaza.
The Israeli Defense Forces say that they've dropped over 150 bombs specially designed to destroy subterranean tunnels and bunkers in the northern part of Gaza. These are tunnels that apparently hide not just Hamas terrorists, but also their rockets and perhaps even means of escape from the northern part of Gaza. Special Forces operations are aiding an aerial campaign that's now targeting these tunnels, many of which Israel says are built beneath civilian infrastructure, including schools and hospitals.
Israel claims a Hamas top commander, Issam Abu Rafa, who helped plot the surprise attack on Israel and commanded the terrorists who infiltrated the country on paragliders on October 7th, has been eliminated. The Israel Defense Forces say its fighter jets attacked around 150 underground sites in the northern Gaza Strip, which belong to the Hamas group.
We need to crush Hamas so that people will have the confidence to return. In the final stage, we can also build and expand and make this area very flourishing and safe.
As a full-blown ground invasion looms, internet and phone services have been cut off in Gaza. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Israeli Defense Forces say that they've dropped over 150 bombs specially designed to destroy subterranean tunnels and bunkers in the northern part of Gaza. These are tunnels that apparently hide not just Hamas terrorists, but also their rockets and perhaps even means of escape from the northern part of Gaza. Special Forces operations are aiding an aerial campaign that's now targeting these tunnels, many of which Israel says are built beneath civilian infrastructure, including schools and hospitals. Take a look at this detailed report.
The Hamas tunnels, an underground network used to hide and smuggle rockets, ammunitions, also used as Hamas command and control centers.
According to the intelligence we have in our hands.
Now, the Israeli army claims that on the Gaza's main hospitals, the Al-Shifa hospital is hiding a variety of command posts and entry points into the extensive tunnel network under Gaza. Israel says that the hospital's internal department, chest and dialysis department, and the morgue and the area next to the maternity department are all housing Hamas underground complex.
Material that we have in our hands. This is only an illustration.
And that the convenience store area is being used as a Hamas command and control center.
The fact that Hamas has built some of its tunnels, under civilian neighborhoods, under hospitals, has been proven before. The specifics this time, perhaps it's difficult to comment on, but the claim war that exploded right at the start with the Al Arbi hospital, in Gaza City in the opening days of this conflict has led to a great deal of, urgency between both sides to counter the other as far as information warfare is concerned. There is very little doubt, no matter what Hamas says, there is very little doubt that they have continued to, take positions in civilian areas, schools, hospitals.
The red buildings, as I mentioned, are buildings that Hamas is using, meaning he does his command and control in different departments of the hospital, like the Rengen room and others. He uses these places in order to do command and control for terror activities, launching rockets, etc., etc. It is here in Shifa Hospital where Hamas operates some of its command and control cells. This is where the direct rocket attacks command Hamas forces. Hamas terrorists operate inside and under Shifa Hospital and other hospitals in Gaza with network of terror tunnels.
The IDF has also released this audio to corroborate its claims.
هلا عندهم كل مخطط الانفاق تحت الارض ولما بقصفوا جامع ولا بقصفوا مستشفى ولا بقصفوا مسجد ولا مدرسه
كله عارفين
تحتها مراكز قياده. وين مراكز القياده تبعت الكتائب القسام؟ المركز الرئيسي وين؟
بعرفش
تحت مجمع الشفاء.
يا لطيف عن جد تحكي؟
مقر القياده الرئيسي تحت مجمع الشفاء. مدامات وغرف وقياده وكل شيء تحت مجمع الرئيسي.
The Israeli military has regularly accused Hamas of basing leadership and operational centers in residential areas or around schools or hospitals.
Hamas uses Shifa Hospital as a shield for Hamas terror infrastructure. Hamas wages war from hospitals. By operating from these hospitals, Hamas not only endangers the lives of Israelis, civilians, but also exploit innocent Gazan civilians as human shield. Shifa is not the only hospital, it is one of many. Hamas' use of hospitals is systematic. Hamas terrorists operate inside hospitals precisely because they know the IDF distinguishes between terrorists and civilians.
Israeli forces have marched outside Gaza and conducted raids into the enclave in preparation for an expected ground offensive in retaliation for the deadly Hamas attack on Israel that killed some 1,400 people. Bureau Report, India Today.
One of the weapons that Israel's special forces and infantry, who've also gone into the Gaza Strip, will use to destroy tunnels, which are very difficult to detect in the first place, are called sponge bombs. Perhaps you've never heard of them before. Here's a look at exactly what sponge bombs are and how they're designed to destroy tunnels.
The wide tunnel network created by the Hamas is a huge problem to deal with. And how is Israel going to counter that? What then is that secret weapon? That secret weapon is a sponge bomb. What then are sponge bombs? Let's tell you more about these bombs that Israel is going to be using. Creates sudden explosion of foam which expands and hardens to be used particularly in these tunnels. Will be used to seal off Hamas tunnels. That's what Israel is intending to do. Also, it contains actually no explosives. IDF tested the device near the Gaza border once in the year 2021. The device is to be used by IDF's elite commando units.
One of the most disturbing things for Israel is the ground attack that took place on October the 7th may have been only a part of the overall plan. Tunnels and activities by Hamas since October 7th suggest that the sea route perhaps was also going to be used to perpetrate terror in other parts of Israel. Airstrikes have managed to target certain infrastructure on the Zikim beach and elsewhere, suggesting that the naval wing of the Hamas has come of age as well.
The horrifying 7th October carnage by the Hamas terrorists armed to the teeth killed thousands of people in southern Israel in the most brutal manner, shooting, burning and even torturing some of them to death. But Hamas wanted to ensure more casualties. Here is how Hamas' terror conspiracy of entering Israel via sea was foiled by alert Israeli forces. Soon after the 7th October brutality, Hamas wanted to strike again, this time with a tunnel attack. An attempt was made to enter into Israel through a tunnel built in the sea. But alert Israeli forces destroyed the tunnel and Hamas' weapon warehouse along the route. Hamas terrorists are notorious for their tunnel warfare, using them to attack Israel from the most unexpected locations. Hamas terrorists have even revealed how they planned to execute more attacks on the Israeli soil. Terrorist Yahya Sinwar, also known as the Butcher of Gaza, has revealed how they had planned to execute these attacks.
Today we have hundreds of kilometers of underground tunnels and hundreds of command and control centers that are above and underground.
That's not all. Listen now to how this Hamas butcher also revealed their biggest strength was not their fighters, but these underground tunnels.
What Hamas has done since they took control almost 20 years ago of the Gaza Strip is basically to build a network of tunnels from Gaza City and under Gaza City, which is the center and the biggest part of their infrastructure, all the way down to Khan Yunis and Rafah. So imagine we're looking at the Gaza Strip, but really think of the Gaza Strip as one layer for the civilians and then another layer for Hamas. And what we're doing now is that we are trying to get to that second layer that Hamas has built, by the way, only for itself, not to be accessed by the civilians. These aren't bunkers for the Gazan civilians to have access to when Israel is striking. No, it's only for Hamas.
Let's now take you inside one of these secret tunnels of Hamas. These tunnels, carved out of stone, go on for several kilometers. This is also being used to supply weapons and carry out attacks. A perfect shield to protect the Hamas. Let's now draw your attention to this terror tunnel built around the Islamic University of Gaza. The Israeli military alleges that the door of this tunnel opened at this university. Another picture you see on your screen shows the door of the tunnel next to a school. Hamas has set up a network of tunnels, which means the terrorists first attack and then hide underground in this tunnel built near the school. In another purported video, the Israeli army reaches a mosque. A room in the basement of this mosque is close to a tunnel. It is the same tunnel through which the terrorists entered into the mosque and also hid there to escape attacks by the Israeli forces. Schools, universities, mosques, Hamas terrorists have strategically chosen these locations for their tunnels to ward off any suspicion. It's these tunnels that Israel is now hunting for to break the backbone of Hamas tunnel warfare. Bureau Report, India Today.
Yesterday in Tel Aviv, the big Indian community here in Israel got together to express solidarity for the country that they now call their home. Thousands of Indians have decided to leave, many have decided to stay back, and many don't really have a choice. I spoke to some of them and I reported on their message of emotional solidarity with the Jewish state. We're here at an Indian solidarity demonstration and protest for the victims of Israel. There's a large Indian community here in Israel, thousands of people who've decided to stay back. Many of them are workers, caregivers and others across different kinds of sectors who work here in Israel. They've all gathered here in Tel Aviv to express their solidarity. Many members from the Kerala community, many members from Karnataka and elsewhere. They've all gathered here together. Many of them know each other, many of them don't know each other, but they've decided to come together as a symbolic show of love, solidarity and really support for the people of Israel. At a time when the world is completely divided over the Israel-Hamas war, two flags kept together, the Indian flag and the Israeli flag, symbolizes not just love and support of the Indian community here, but also a love of a country that they've made their home. Remember that the people you see behind me are all people who chose to stay. Many decided to leave. There's nothing wrong with that. There were places in Israel that were much unsafer than others. But many here in Tel Aviv, one of Israel's largest cities, have decided to stay back. Their work demands it. They support their families back home. And they've decided to take the time out just before the weekend to express their solidarity and their support and love for Israel. This kind of thing can't be staged. All of these people are very far away from home. All of these people, send remittances back home. Their families depend on the money they make here in a country like Israel for their sustenance back home in India as well. And therefore, a sense of community, a sense of solidarity, and a sense of support for Israel. This is the Indian community standing with the people of Israel. In Tel Aviv, Shiv Arur for India Today. From unambiguous solidarity with Israel to defending its right to defend itself to now a softening stance with a focus majorly on the humanitarian crisis that's looming in the Gaza Strip behind me. And you can continue to hear fighter aircraft behind me. There was a rocket that flew over our heads just a moment ago, and the bombing and shelling is continuing. But the humanitarian crisis, no matter what the claims and counterclaims, is very, very real in the Gaza Strip. But what explains the United States softening its stance and now talking only and only about the humanitarian crisis and no longer just about Israel's right to defend itself? Now it's about a two-state solution.
From solidarity,
you're not alone. You are not alone. As long as the United States stands, and we will stand forever, we'll not let you ever be alone.
To unwavering support.
I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
To now, striking a humanitarian note.
I continue to be alarmed about extremist settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank, that pouring gasoline on fire is what it's like. This was a deal. The deal was made, and they're attacking Palestinians in places that they're entitled to be. And it has to stop. They have to be held accountable, and it has to stop now.
Over the last 20 days, the United States has shifted its stance on the Israel-Hamas war. While Joe Biden has still maintained that Israel has the right to defend itself in the aftermath of the October 7th attack, the rapidly rising Gaza death toll and a worsening humanitarian crisis have pushed Biden and his team to support a pause to Israel's attacks and then focus on getting aid to Palestinians.
I think that we, Israelis, should be incredibly careful to be sure that they're focusing on going after the folks that are propagating this war against Israel. I continue to be alarmed about extremist settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank, that pouring gasoline on fire is what it's like. This was a deal. The deal was made, and they're attacking Palestinians in places that they're entitled to be. And it has to stop. They have to be held accountable, and it has to stop now. I'm convinced One of the reasons Hamas attacked when they did, I have no proof of this, just my instinct tells me, is because of the progress we were making towards regional integration for Israel and regional integration overall.
There has been a tug of war behind the scenes among Biden and his advisors about US's message. US had not expected Palestinian casualties to mount as fast as they have, or for the humanitarian situation to worsen so rapidly.
Let me begin by repeating my utter condemnation of the abhorrent attacks by Hamas and other...
US shift in stance also followed a plea from UN Secretary General for civilians to be protected and increasingly desperate appeals from UN organizations to allow in aid. Biden's aides are urging their Israeli counterparts to take more time to carefully think through their exit strategy before a full-scale ground invasion.
The United States and Israel have agreed to develop a plan that will enable humanitarian aid from donor nations and multilateral organizations to reach civilians in Gaza, and them alone, including the possibility of creating areas to help keep civilians out of harm's way. If Hamas in any way blocks humanitarian assistance from reaching civilians, including by seizing the aid itself, we'll be the first to condemn it, and we will work to prevent it from happening again.
US has called for a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. Even as America resists ceasefire calls, what will be the end game in Gaza? The world is waiting to know. Bureau Report, India Today.
All through our coverage and war reporting here on India Today from the Gaza front, one message that we've sent out throughout is save the children. From the 30-odd children who continue to be held hostage by the Hamas terrorists to the scores of children who are dying perhaps daily in the military strikes in the Gaza Strip. We say it and we will say it again. Save the children.
Worried, anxious, desperate. These are the words to aptly describe what distraught parents of kidnapped kids in Israel are feeling. Amid the hostage crisis in Israel, the government of Israel has released this video saying it will do what it takes to safeguard all children and bring them back. The short video showcasing unicorns was published on the YouTube channel of the Israeli Foreign Affairs Ministry on October 11th with a caption that read, "We know your child cannot read this. We have an important message to tell you as parents. 40 infants were murdered in Israel by the Hamas terrorists. Just as you would do everything for your child, we will do everything to protect ours. Now hug your baby and stand with us." Israel estimates that more than 20 children have been held hostage by Hamas terrorists. 40 infants were murdered, says Israel. In Tel Aviv, a mother marked her son's 12th birthday in his absence. The truth is that children in war, like in this war, pay the heaviest price. India Today has decided to put the focus on the plight of children who bear the worst brunt. In New Delhi, Sneha Mardani for India Today.
We are perhaps now on the foothills of a large-scale invasion of the Gaza Strip. When I arrived here a short while ago, the Gaza Strip's northern end was visible. The houses and buildings were visible. Now it's completely covered in a pall of smoke because at least 3 airstrikes have happened since I began this broadcast. We will stay here at this spot for as long as we're able and will continue to report. Thanks for watching. The news continues here on India Today.